Hi guys, hope you are all well. This is again me, Petr Nemeth from Dataddo. Today I am joining you actually from a very special location. We are right now in the Big Data Expo based in the Utrecht, Netherlands. So I will be handling this webinar session right from here. As you might be hearing from the background, there is quite a good atmosphere here. So let's say if anyone is taking part at this event, you are of course more than welcome to stop at your booth and we can have some nice conversation about the latest trends in the data. So first of all, thanks everyone for the attendance of today's webinar. I hope that there will be not too much of a background noise, but of course, if so, please let me know, and I will try to change my location to make it a little bit more better. Of course, as always, in case you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I will be answering them at the let's say end of the session. And let's say as far as the agenda for this for today's webinars goes, I will be mostly talking about Reverse ETL, just to do a basic introduction, what's actually a Reverse ETL means, some architectural considerations for you if your organization or if you are personally interested in this particular concept. So I will giving some ideas how this should be implemented and what is actually mean for the company to start using Reverse ETL. Last but not least, you might probably already know that we have recently added the capabilities of the Reverse ETL right into our platform. So I will be touching a little bit more about that. And of course, we will be at the end of the day or at the end of the session, there will be a room for your questions should there be any. Okay, so let's jump into the actual topic. So I have shared the materials with you about the Reverse ETL. So the basic question, of course, is what is Reverse ETL, or you might heard about the term data activation. Reverse ETL, as the name already suggests, is the actual process of the ETL. ETL, as you already know, is a process when you want to extract the data from the various, typically software as a service applications or perhaps other databases, and you want them to load to the data warehouse, database, or to the data lake. And Reverse ETL, essentially the opposite process. When you already have the data in some storage, and you want to push them back to the application, Salesforce, HubSpot, Exact Online, and others. This is also known as data activation. And as I already mentioned, the typical destination here are not data warehouses, as in the case of the ETL or ELT, but rather operational tools. Typically, it's a CRM platforms, ERP platforms, data platform, but also it could be advertising platforms as well. So why would you use a Reverse ETL? Very important question. The biggest consideration for the using of Reverse ETL is kind of reducing the friction of your, let's say, data activities that you are holding inside your organization. So typically, imagine a situation when, for instance, you are having the data about your customers inside your CRM platform, let's say Salesforce, and somehow you want to compute a scoring about your customers. So your sales team has a better idea which of the potential customers, which of the potential leads, which of the potential opportunities they should go after. And of course, the standard way using the ETL would be to extract the data from the Salesforce, do some clever computations in the data warehouse, and then project the data in some dashboard. But of course, this means that the people, salespeople, which is your audience to which you want to present the data, needs to work with the Salesforce as their tool of operation, but at the same time, you serve them another information in the dashboard. which of course is not very handy. So the optimal solution is actually for them, because they are already the, let's say, power users or heavy users of the Salesforce or any other CRM tool. So you want them to see the data about the customer scoring right in the tool, right in the operational tool directly. And that is the purpose why you want to use a reverse ETL. The second might be that the business logic that you want to apply is too complex to be actually handled by the operational tool itself. So if we stick with the example of let's say computing the customer score and the CRM as an example, imagine a situation where the calculation of the customer score is not as simple as look on the number how much they spent, but they might be several other factors: which of the products they spent, how long they are actually with you, from which geographical reason they from which geographical region they are, from which industry they are, how much employee they have, and tons of different variables. The thing is that it might be, the more complex the calculation of your customer score or customer lifetime value or any other metric is, the more difficult it would be for you to actually find a tool that has the native capabilities in that. So the obvious solution would be to, let's say, put all those data from which you want to compute the score, from which you want to compute this particular metric, to put them into data warehouse, do the computation there, because at the end of the day, that's what the SQL is for, right? SQL is for, doing the complex computation, doing the complex transformation. So you can perfectly utilize all the power of the SQL to compute the customer score. And then once you compute the score, which is typically a scalar value number, you can push it back to the operational tool like Salesforce CRM. And of course, the last motivation might be that this of course can greatly reduce the price, because at the end of the day, this is what you are paying the premium price for the operational tool. Let's say if you look at the market of the CRM, every CRM can track the customer. Every CRM can track the price of the deal, or the amount of the deal, or the value of the deal. Every CRM can track the leads, but usually the way how they differ is the way how they are able to, let's say, compute or work with the different information. How much they are available to, let's say, materialize into the CRM work your complex business processes. And effectively, with using the reverse ETL in combination of offloading the business logic into the data warehouse, you can actually transform your stack in a way that you can use a fairly simple and thus fairly cheap CRM, offload the complex logic into the data warehouse, and then use the reverse ETL to actually push all the data that has originated through that complex logic into the CRM system, thus safely reducing your CRM bill. The important part and the important question when people are starting to considering the reverse ETL is how this actually differs from the iPaaS, which stands for an integration platform as a service. I don't know how much you are familiar with the iPaaS solution. Those are typically solutions from vendors like Zapier, If This Then That, or Make. And essentially, those are event-based platform that allows you to pick some event, which could be, the invoice was created, and then project the information of that event into some other system. So this is always, very tied to the actual event. So all the data processing, all the let's say, all the synchronization is heavily dependent on the actual event. The reverse ETL is more built. The concept of the reverse ETL is mostly built around the batch processing. So instead of capturing the individual events, of course, there are also some overlaps where you can use both approaches, but mainly the reverse ETL is about the batch processing, where essentially you extract some data from the data warehouse as a batch in a given time. It could be every 5 minutes, every day, every hour, and then you push them to the operational system. And so this is very different from the fact that in the event processing, you actually process the event in the real time and you send the data to the destination in the real time. Of course, this concept has some very profound implication, which in many cases are a little bit more advantageous for the concept of reverse ETL in comparison to the iPaaS. When it comes to the fact that event processing is always tied with the actual event, meaning that the information itself is always encapsulated with the actual event. And if you want to enrich the information, like joining it with data from the other system, this might become extremely complex. Imagine it as a situation that you can imagine event as some sort of envelope. So invoice is created, the envelope is dispatched, and the other systems that are involved in the actual event processing can only operate within the actual envelope. They can reduce the amount of information that is in the envelope, but it's extremely hard to actually enrich the data outside the envelope, specifically when we are talking about employing the data from some other systems. And of course, this can be somehow done. Of course, there is a concept of the, for instance, promises in the JavaScript. So the solution exists, but they are typically very, very prone to failure and quite rather clunky than something that you would put into the production. So, but if you look at the reverse ETL from the concept of let's say enriching the data itself, the way how it typically works that instead of capturing the event of the created invoice, you would in some given time extract the information of the new invoices. So you would get the whole batch. You would typically push them to the data warehouse, and in the data warehouse, as a separate process, you can enrich the data by the data about customers, about payment methods, about anything else that you actually need. And then once you are ready, you can push the data to the operational system. So it means that let's say that the process of the data enrichment is actually decoupled from the actual event. Therefore, with the reverse ETL, when you have the need of enriching data outside the actual event, like invoice was created, and you want to attach more information to that are coming from the external sources, the process of enriching is decoupled from the actual event. Therefore, it is way more easier for you to actually push more complex data to that. And of course, this means that just comparing these two concepts, these two things, creates an important consideration for you when to use the reverse ETL and when to use the iPaaS. So use iPaaS when you know that you need to synchronize the data between the systems, and you are perfectly okay with synchronizing the data by the information that are just available in the single event. Okay, and this is perfectly fine. Also, use iPaaS when you need a real time or the near real time synchronization. This is something that could be hardly achievable through the reverse ETL. On the other side, use reverse ETL when you know that you need to enrich the data outside the actual event. So when we are talking about our example with the invoice, when you need to add more information, when you need to attach more information about the invoices that are coming from the external sources, then in this case, you will need to use reverse ETL. But in the same time, this means that you will lose some of the real-timeness of the process. So important part also is what are the actual challenges of the reverse ETL. So the biggest challenge, and of course the biggest benefit, comes from the fact that the destination is operational tools like CRMs, Salesforce, HubSpot, NetSuite, Dynamics 365. And of course, the problem with that is typically in those tools, you have very, very sensitive data. You have all your customer data in your CRM system. So once you are, applying the changes to the CRM system about your customer data, you have to make sure that the whole system is operating as you expect, and you know what you are doing. Because imagine a situation when you just update your database about all of your customers with some dummy values, and this can effectively erase a let's say important part of your company. Of course, those CRM systems are backup. You can always think about some sort of fallback mechanism, but it's important to consider this specifically with the fact that typically in the operational tools like CRM, ERPs, there is your company gold is actually in those tools. So you have to make sure before you start working with or start considering reverse ETL that those systems are backup, and there is a fallback mechanism in case something goes wrong that you can always go back. With that is tied to the fact that those systems doesn't have much of a, let's say, test or sandboxing environment. So typically you have only one instance of the Salesforce, or you have only one instance of the HubSpot. So it would be quite challenging for you to actually test the reverse ETL process into the production. Again, it's important to make sure that you have some sort of fallback mechanism when something goes wrong. And the last thing is that the process of the reverse ETL requires some sort of very extensive mapping. Typically, you extract the data from some system, you put them to the data warehouse in the form of two-dimensional table. But of course, the destination, whether it's Salesforce CRM, whether it's HubSpot, whatever it's Zoho, expect the data in some certain format. So of course, what you need to do, you need to perhaps do some very extensive data mapping in order to achieve what you actually want. So when you will be considering some reverse ETL process, look at those particular fields, and I would mostly suggest to make sure that there is a strong fallback mechanism in place for the operational tools that will be involved, as a destination for the reverse ETL. The thing that I would like to touch right now is the fact that, as you have probably know, we have recently launched our own reverse ETL capability. This give us the opportunity to call Dataddo as an any-to-any integration platform. This has been always, let's say, our vision, our dream, to make sure that you or we will give you the capability of actually choosing any source and any destination, regardless whether it's software as a service applications like Salesforce, HubSpot, whether it's cloud database like or cloud data warehouse like Snowflake or Redshift, cloud database like Azure SQL, whether it's on-prem database, data lake, lakehouse like Databricks and others. Our vision is always to give you this any-to-any integration capability. And of course, with the reverse ETL adding to our list of capabilities, we kind of finalize that. So right now, we are offering a standard ETL/ELT capabilities when you need the data from software as a service application to the database or data warehouse. We also provide, as you probably know, the direct integration of the data from the apps towards the dashboarding applications like Tableau, Power BI, Google Studio, others. We also have the capability of database to database integrations, typically used for database replication or data distribution. So when, for instance, you have some data in the, let's say, MySQL, and you want to some of that push to Google BigQuery to be used by the different team. So this capability is in place as well. And we have added the reverse ETL capability to our portfolio as well. Right now, we support or we have decided that the first destination that we will support will be the CRM systems, because this is the kind of segment where we see is the biggest demand. Right now, we have put the HubSpot CRM and the Zoho CRM to the production. So those you can already start using. They are immediately available. I think I don't have to remind you, but we have a 14-day trial where you can test all the capabilities extensively. If you need to prolong it, this is totally possible. Just feel free to contact us. And also, we have the 4 destinations that are in the private beta. So private beta means that they are available, but they are available on the request. So in case you either want to use Salesforce, NetSuite, Oracle Eloqua, or Microsoft Dynamics 365, please do contact us, and we will enable those connections for you, so you can use the reverse ETL capability here as well. And last but not least, just let me show you just quickly how the actual implementation on our side looks like. It's fairly simple. It's fairly consistent with our existing concept of resources, flows, and destination. The only difference is that as a destination, you no longer have the data warehouse and the dashboarding apps only, but there are also other apps as well. So when you will be inside Dataddo, you will be defining the flow. Just choose destination as a business app. At the moment, out of the box, you can choose HubSpot CRM, and you can choose Zoho CRM. Of course, in case you want to use the other apps that I have mentioned, like Salesforce, NetSuite, Eloqua, and Microsoft Dynamics 365, please let us know, and we will allow it to you. The process of the configuration is fairly similar to any other flow. The only reason what you need to do is to basically do the data mapping at the end. So once you are, let's say, adding a source, you will need to choose which of the column from the particle source will be let's say, mapped to a column or expected column in your destination, and that's it. Otherwise, everything stays exactly the same. So when it comes to the ability of logging, when it comes to ability of, let's say, manually triggering the operation, this is everything exactly the same as you are actually used to. So this was my part. So let's move to the questions. So right now we have here just one question. Of course, I wanted to tell you that even if you don't want to ask at the moment during the session, you can still ask us offline, and we will try to answer any other question that you might have. Of course, you have my contact details. You can use my email address. It's petr.nemeth nemeth@dataddo.com. Also, you can use our Slack community channel. There is also a room for the question and answer, or you can use any other means of contacting us, so your questions get answered. So the question from David is that, hi, and thanks for the webinar. Is in your roadmap for reverse ETL destination like Google Ads or Facebook? Yes, it is definitely in the roadmap. We see that there is a strong potential, or let's say one of the use case. I have been mostly talking about the CRM use case. So when essentially you want to enrich the data for the purpose of the CRM, but the, let's say, next big use case that we see for the reverse ETL is when you actually want to when you need to provide some systems with the feedback information. And typically this is strongly related to the advertising systems and advertising platform. So typically you, for instance, collect the data about your customers or about your prospects, and you want to send those information to the advertising platform so they can improve their targeting mechanism. So of course, this is the, let's say, kind of next use case that we will be looking into. Right now, we have focused primarily on the CRM. Let's say by the end of the September, all of the promised CRM destination will be put into the production. And let's say since the beginning of the Q4 2022, we will be deploying the destination that will be primary from the segment of the advertising platform. And yes, Google Ads and Facebook will be one of the first. David is thanking for the answer. So thanks for your question. So I believe there are no more questions. So thanks a lot for your attendance. I would like to hope that there was not too much of background noise that could be potentially disturbing our webinar. I would like to invite you for another webinar that will be held next week. I believe next week we will be actually attending another conference in London. So we will be I might be talking from the similar conditions, and the webinar will be about the enabling a data visualization, because as you know, one of our products is allow you to send the data to any dashboarding platform without the need of the data warehouse. So really simplifies and streamlines the process of data analytics, lowering the barriers a lot. So we'll be mostly talking about that, showing some examples from the apps, and actually talking about the different deployment mechanism. So again, thanks a lot for your attendance. Thanks a lot for the questions. If you have if you need any further information, feel free to contact us. And of course, see you next time.